Welcome to the Viking Age podcast, the official podcast of the VikingAge.com. We do this every Monday and Thursday night, 6:15 p.m. Central Time, right here on the Viking Age YouTube channel. And if you miss it, we have you covered in podcast form the next day on Apple and Spotify. But however you listen, make sure you're liking, subscribing, giving us a good review, because we never want you to miss a good episode. My name is Chris Schad. I am a contributor at the Viking Age, as well as Zone Coverage and Bring Me the News. And on the right side of your screen is the managing editor of the Viking Age and my co-host, Adam Patrick. Adam, we missed you on Thursday night, so I'm just going to ask casually, how was your vacation, man?
Vacation. It was good. My former roommates came and visited, also known as my parents. And we went to the beach and stuff, so it was good. Got sick again because my son is in school now, so he gets sick every day now. So that's fun. But no, it was good. Nice to have some time off, but I'm back. I'm happy to be back in the grind, back in the thick of things, because now even closer to the season. I'm happy that I was off on Saturday, so I didn't have to watch that preseason game, because I watched the condensed version, and that was even difficult to get through. So I wasn't sad about that, but no, it was good.
I'm just happy we're done with preseason, especially I mean, it used to be, we talked about it a little bit a couple weeks ago. Like, it was exciting when we were younger. It's like, okay, the third game, the dress rehearsal, right? The starters are going to play a half, and we're going to pick everything through and everything else. And now it's just like, no, we're not letting anybody see the field. And a big reason why is because you don't want anybody important getting hurt, which somebody kind of important got hurt, but we'll get to that just a little bit later. Let's start with our first topic, though, and that is that teams are calling about Alexander Mattison. Chris Thomason of the Pioneer Press says that at least 11 teams. I thought it was a dozen, but a little bit short.
He said 12.
He said 12? Okay, I got 11 on my sheet, so that's good. So 12 teams, 12 teams have called inquiring about the Vikings running back. He had 491 yards, 3 touchdowns on the ground last year, 228 yards, and a touchdown receiving. His yards per carry dropped in each of his 3 years since coming into the league, with 4.6 in his rookie year and 3.7 last year. And he is entering the final year of his deal and is unlikely to sign an extension, because Thomason says he wants to be a starting running back. Don't we all? Mm-hmm. Should the Vikings trade Alexander Mattison, and what do you need to pull the trigger, Adam?
I don't have a strong opinion, I feel like, either way, because I've been on this ever since they drafted Ty Chandler. Like, as soon as that happened, I'm like, oh, like, Mattison could be gone, because it's clear that they want someone who fits their system better, which is Ty Chandler, who's faster, hits his holes correctly, has better vision, and kind of fits their system more, which doesn't seem like Mattison does. I not that Mattison can't be productive in this new system, but it feels like Ty Chandler might be the better fit, which is why they went with him. But yeah, either way, I don't care if he stays or goes. I feel like the Vikings should probably try. It's what Doogie from KSTP said, a third, maybe a fourth would get the Vikings to agree. I don't think they're going to get a third, but I would think that a fourth is reasonable, considering that's what the Vikings gave up for Chris Herndon last year. But yeah, that's another story. But yeah, I don't know, because Mattison, he's a good number 2 running back, but I don't think the Vikings are going to suffer with him not on the roster, especially if they're moving to a more passing oriented offense, where KJ Osborne's probably going to have more of an impact on a game than Alexander Mattison is, or even Irv Smith Jr. will have more of an impact. So I have no opinion either way. He's good back to have in case Dalvin Cook gets hurt, but if he's not there, I think the Vikings and their offensive staff can figure out how to make up for him with Ty Chandler and Kene Nwangwu. So yeah, I won't be sad if he goes, and I'm not going to be sad if he stays. So, but yeah,
I'm kind of with you. There's a group of Vikings fans who are like, why would you trade him? And Matthew Collar, Purple Insider, has actually been on Twitter all day. Like, you can't trade him. Like, why would you trade Alexander Mattison?
Really?
Because he's a running back. and
Right.
you can find running backs wherever. And I know the whole known commodity about Alexander Mattison and him being able to start him. Hell, I wrote an article about it at Zone Coverage. So I mean, I kind of pumped the tires on that a little bit too, but it's not earth shattering. Like if you get a third, run to the bank. Like
Yeah.
seriously, like what are you doing if you're trading a third round pick for a running back? That just seems stupid to me. If it's a fourth, maybe you think about it, but they also gave up their fourth this year to trade up for a Caleb Evans in last year's draft.
Right.
I mean, I won't be sad either way. I'm just like you. And Ty Chandler, I mean, I think he makes the roster either way. So I don't think this is a move to like make room for him. But I think that, like you said, he fits this offense better. He's a little bit speedier. And let's not forget, like Alexander Mattison was projected to be an undrafted pick. But Gary Kubiak pounded the table and like, no, we need to take this guy. And they did it at the end of the third round because that's what the Vikings do, apparently. So I don't know. I mean, we'll see what happens here because
Yeah.
like what
12
team do
teams
you
is a
think?
lot.
Yeah, what team do you think would benefit from having Alexander Mattison the most?
I keep going back to the Seahawks because of
Oh,
Chris Carson. He retired. I think Rashad Penny's hurt. And he seems like a Seahawks, like a Pete Carroll kind of running back. And I feel like they would give up, the draft capital, whatever maybe needed. Maybe they won't now because they're kind of rebuilding, but they would be someone who's probably interested in a Madison. I feel
is
like,
there
yeah,
any running back that Pete Carroll doesn't like? Like he's like, yeah, you can run the ball. Yeah, let's
um,
throw him in there.
maybe like an Alvin Kamara because all he does is catch.
Yeah, we're not
He's
gonna throw it to you. Can't
although
run between the
Marshawn
tackles.
Lynch he was an underrated receiver. He was a good
He
receiver.
was, but he
So
could also ram it through the tackles, which
I can just see Madison in a Seahawks uniform. Like
sure.
already he like fits that mold that we've become accustomed to in the Pete Carroll era. Some other teams, maybe I don't know, the Steelers, because I think Najee Harris he's kind of banged up too. I could see
He's got
that.
that
Like,
Liz Frank injury. That's
yeah,
not good for a running
right,
back.
right. All those like teams like the Chiefs, Steelers, and Seahawks. You can kind of maybe sense a theme here, but they all have older coaches, so they're more interested in the type of running back that Alexander Mattison is. He's not the Ty Chandler type. He's not even the Dalvin Cook type. It's funny you mentioned like running backs are so expendable. I think Sony Michel got released today by the Dolphins. I believe he was the starting running back for the Rams last year when they won the Super Bowl, and he just got released. So that
Mm-hmm.
tells you how much this offense values, a running back because they don't. So, yeah, Steelers, Chiefs, I don't know, Giants, Bills, like he would be a good running back, like a good number 2 running back for a team that kind of feels like they can contend. So, even like a team like the Chargers, I don't know who they have other than Austin Eckler back there, so maybe them too.
I think maybe the Eagles. Like
Yes. Yeah.
I don't know. There's just a lot of teams that have these weird type of committees, and I don't think that like I don't see Alexander Mattison as an RB1. I know he had a couple of good games, but I mean, a lot of his yards came on like 1 or 2 big runs, which you could
Right.
say the same thing about Dalvin Cook, but the guy's vision's just not there. We've
Yeah.
seen it plenty of times. Like you mentioned Seattle, I was wondering if you thought
Mhm.
he'd be a good Seahawk because of that fourth down run
Yeah.
in 2020.
Mhm.
That probably cost him a playoff spot. It was one of several things that cost him a playoff
Yep.
spot that year. But yeah, I just don't think there's any team that's just like I have to have Alexander Mattison, and if there is, you
Right.
have to pull the trigger. Like I don't care about depth. I should retract that statement because I could get burned by that. I don't care about holding on to a guy who
Running back
clearly
depth.
doesn't have a future here,
Right,
especially a
right.
running back.
Yeah.
So
That's the thing. Like if you can get these guys on 1-year contracts, if you can get something for them and you have guys to make up for their production, then yeah, you should be looking to trade them. Like all the reports have said the Vikings aren't like they're not actively searching to get rid of Madison.
and they
But if somebody
shouldn't.
yeah, but if someone's coming along to them with a good offer, then they're gonna listen. And I think that's one thing that Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah has been good at, has been like we're not really interested in shopping this guy, but if you have an offer, we're going to listen.
He runs it like my fantasy football team. Just like, I'm not trading Justin Jefferson, but if you want to make an offer, that's fun. One of the I'll go down this road. One of the podcasts I listen to has a segment called "Is It Enough for Justin Jefferson?" And it's a dynasty fantasy football podcast. So they just basically throw out like bad offers for Justin Jefferson and then just laugh at him. Like that's basically, that's not happening here. But I mean, it's the same thing. Like, you can offer if you want to. I mean, we're probably hanging on to him if there's something that knocks my socks off. But
yeah, I just the Ravens too is another team I was thinking of when you were saying that because they're a run team. And I feel like I've been hearing that they're going to get back to their kind of bread and butter of running it down your throat this year after last year when they lost like their whole backfield. And I think what's his name, J.K. Dobbins is still kind of dinged up. He's not fully ready, so I could see maybe them looking into that. But yeah, 12 teams. There's apparently at least 12 teams have called. So there's interest there for sure.
Well, speaking of injuries and teams that are looking for contingency plans, the Vikings are in that boat. BC Johnson tearing his ACL in Saturday's preseason finale against the Broncos. He was injured in the third quarter. Kevin O'Connell said it didn't look good, and he was right. Now, O'Connell did mention that he did do enough to make the 53-man roster, but it's unfortunate because he suffered an injury in his opposite knee. I don't know if it's right, left, or whatever, but he tore his ACL last year, tore it in the other knee this preseason. I mean, how big of a loss do you think BC Johnson is to this year's team?
Depth-wise, it could be a significant loss, but I don't think it's huge because I think he was kind of still, as much as Kevin O'Connell alluded to, like he earned a spot. I still feel like he was kind of on the bubble of making this roster because you got the first three, you got Jefferson, Thielen, KJ Osborne. Then you got Amir Smith-Marset. He earned a spot, so he's 4. Then you look at someone like Jalen Naylor, who apparently Keenan McCardle pounded the table for in the draft. So that's 5. So do you keep, I think you're on the bubble there, depending on what you do at other positions. Do you keep 5 receivers? Do you keep 6 receivers? But it did sound like, BC Johnson earned a spot. I think it would have been fine because if a KJ Osborne or a Thielen goes down, then he's someone you can rely on to get open. I think Kirk Cousins is pretty comfortable with him as far as chemistry wise, but he's not going to blow you away with anything. And he could be a good special teams guy. I think that's where he got hurt on, is actually a special teams play, just kind of non-contact, and he went down. But yeah, it's a bummer because it's his last year of his contract. So, next year, who knows if a team's going to be willing to give him a shot. I feel like the Vikings are probably going to be one of the only teams that might give him a shot because they're very familiar. They're the most familiar with what he's done recently, and they saw him all camp. And so I feel like they might be the only team, and otherwise it might be like BC Johnson trying out in the XFL to get his, rehabilitate his career. But no, I don't think it's a huge loss. I feel like maybe an Amir Smith-Marset would have been a bigger loss because looks like he's going to be the punt returner too.
Do you think that if you sign with the XFL, like you get to rehab with The Rock? Because if that's like the case, like sign me up, man. I got 2 bad knees, but The Rock's going to straighten me into shape.
Yeah,
Let's go to the Iron Paradise.
I wonder if they have a drug testing program in the XFL or if they just encourage it.
I don't know. It's probably not Vince McMahon like on something or other like this is the XFL.
Right. Well, they had a
very good earthy Vince McMahon.
They had the reboot,
by the way,
and he wasn't involved, was he?
I think he was more behind the scenes. Like he was involved, but he wasn't.
He signed the checks.
Yeah, he signed, and they bounced. This is why you sit 33 players on Saturday night, though. I mean, that was kind of a startling amount, like looking through Twitter before the game, but it's exactly why you do it. You don't want Justin Jefferson or Adam Thielen or Kirk Cousins or anybody important to go down. And I'm not saying that BC Johnson's not important. He's just not a season over injury for me.
Right.
Like you have enough depth where you're going to be okay. I like what Amir Smith-Marset has done this preseason. He had that great game against the Bears last year. He caught all 4 punts. He didn't screw up. So, I mean, that's a bonus.
He had a good return too against the Broncos.
Yeah. And I mean, Jalen Naylor, Tristan Jackson. I mean, Jackson's kind of a little bit shaky, but I mean, you could do worse. Like it's injuries like this that is why the Rams just decided we're going to add one more receiver. Just keep adding them. Just keep lining them up because they go down. It's almost like Zimmer with corners, right? Like he wanted to have 8 corners on the roster because like they get dinged up, they get hurt. That's exactly what he said. I don't think the Vikings need to go out and sign a receiver right away. They can kind of wait on that a little bit.
Yeah.
But if the Vikings get off to a fast start, there's one name that intrigues me, and it's Odell Beckham Jr. And I was listening to Collar, and he's just like, I don't know. He probably doesn't want to be like the number 3 receiver. Well, when he signed with the Rams, who were on their way to the Super Bowl, they had Cooper Kupp and they had Robert Woods. So I don't know.
Then Woods went down.
Yeah, Woods went down. Hell, Odell Beckham went down in the Super Bowl. Like it just was a domino effect. So I mean, he's just a name I think the Vikings should keep an eye on because if there's an injury or if let's say KJ Osborne goes down and you're sitting there in October, you're in good position in the NFC North. Give him a call. There's LSU ties all over this team.
Good friends with Jefferson.
Right.
He gave him money after the national championship.
Was wearing free OBJ shirts like in Baltimore.
He was giving he gave Jefferson money after the national championship.
Yeah.
He got in trouble for it.
Isn't it weird how Odell Beckham's career has turned out though? Like this guy was basically where Justin Jefferson was after the first 2 years of his career, and now he's just like hired gun wide receiver.
Because he had what's the old Giants coach's name, who's now with the
Ben
Panthers.
McAdoo?
Yeah, he's the reason probably why thing went to crap because he's the reason he's when the Giants started to suck. Then? Well, he was good
with the Browns.
Oh, with the Browns. Baker Mayfield, he was hurt, so he couldn't give him the ball, and then OBJ's dad decided to get involved, and that. But the Browns are a whole. There's a reason why they're called the Browns.
They're more like the Greens these days.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like Odell's gonna be keeping an eye on the contenders this year, and he's gonna be like, "Do I want to live?" Because the Rams gonna be good again, I feel like he lives in LA probably already.
Josh Gordon is sitting there somewhere like the Leo DiCaprio meme, just like, "Hey."
Oh, you're talking about that picture. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah,
the picture where he's got the bag of weed.
Somebody said it was mashed up avocado. Okay. Sure it was.
Oh, it's for my glaucoma.
Yeah. Them, the Bills, the Rams, the Bills, maybe the Vikings because the O'Connell connection. Even a team like the Bengals, like you're talking about LSU connections, like OBJ on the Bengals. That would be.
Oh, that would be fun.
Not surprising at all. So
Chase Higgins and OBJ and Joe
and
Burrow.
Weren't the Packers trying to get him last year, but they lowballed him? Like, what are you doing?
And then Devontae Adams said, "Oh, you don't want to win a Super Bowl, huh?" And then he
was like, they were going to give me the league minimum. Yeah. So, yeah. I wouldn't be mad at that. I've always liked Odell Beckham. I've liked him. I feel like people have kind of treated him the same way in his career, like Randy Moss. Obviously, he's not as good as Randy Moss, but like the polarizing persona or whatever that he has that isn't really polarizing. Like, has he ever gotten in any trouble? No. Like the things he's done on field is like get into fights when he's been competitive. He did the thing with like the net where he like proposed to it, the field goal net or whatever. But like Randy Moss did that stuff too. Like he's like a Chad Johnson, Randy Moss kind of guy. Like these guys do stuff on the field when they're competitive, but off the field, you don't got to worry about them. So yeah, I have no problem with that.
Well, maybe Odell Beckham Jr. is going to be something the Vikings add later in the season. But for right now, the Vikings need to trim down to 53 players by Tuesday is it 3 or 4? Is it 4 Eastern or 3?
4 Eastern.
4 Eastern. So it's 3 o'clock our time.
Yep.
A lot of important decisions to be made. I made a 53-man roster prediction. You made a 53-man roster prediction, which is at the Viking age right now.
Yep.
And we had a couple of interesting differences. So I think we should talk about them. What do you think?
I think that's a good idea.
Let's fight. Get your gloves, because you had Kellen Mond making the team over Sean Mannion, and I had Sean Mannion making the team over Kellen Mond. Who wants to go first, you or me?
Well, I'll just go first because I have no desire to see Sean Mannion in a Vikings uniform ever again. I don't care what has to happen. There is no reason to keep him on a roster. He is a coach. He is not a quarterback. He is not a player in this league. He is a coach. Make him a coach if you want to keep him around so bad. There's no reason to take up a roster spot with Sean Mannion. So do that. I think Kellen Mond, I just look at this, like people are like, oh, he's struggling or whatever. I still look at this year as his rookie year. Like, I just interpret it as like these are his rookie struggles because he didn't have any of this last year. He didn't even get like these struggles because he didn't have an opportunity to have them. So I just look at his year as being a rookie year. I think being with this coaching staff for a year would benefit him. I feel like he's already taken strides in the right direction. He still has a long way to go, but I feel like, another season, he could be the backup next year. And I think, that's what you kind of want. You don't want to have this again, this quarterback 2 battle. Just have a backup already. And I think it'd be good to keep him, because I think if they put him on the practice squad, I feel like there's going to be a team or two that tries to sign him. I don't think he's going to be, just hanging out there as some people think, like he's not going to be signed, because he was drafted 2 years ago. So teams are still going to be interested in him. There's always a team that's like, oh, I can fix him. So I don't think putting him on the practice squad is going to work, but maybe the Vikings have other ideas.
I don't think you said anything wrong. And honestly, I'd almost rather have Kellen Mond on the active roster because you can develop him as a quarterback 3, give him one more year, and then just kind of give this thing one more chance. The reason why I think Sean Mannion makes the team, and I'm not going with what I want. I'm going with what I think will happen. Mm-hmm. And I think that Sean Mannion's going to stick on this team in some stupid fashion. You know why? Because Kirk Cousins is the ultimate creature of comfort. Like, look at this entire offseason. Like, how many people have been jacked about this offense? And Kirk Cousins has been like, I don't really know. All offenses are the same. But I got to have flashcards and I got to learn all this stuff and everything else. He goes out in a practice last week and apparently threw 3 picks. Could have thrown 2 more. Like, he needs prime offensive line, prime wide receivers, prime running back, prime fullback, Cabana boy fanning him off, giving him pina colada, and maybe he can throw a check down to CJ Ham. Like, in the fact that he's friends with Sean Mannion and like they're study buddies and he brings like Oreos and like cold milk or whatever, I would say Coors Light, but I don't think Kirk drinks beer. So not even like the non-alcoholic kind or like Mick Ultra. That's not really beer. It's just more like carbonated water.
He makes that face. He makes that face if he has to have beer. Like
you know what I'm saying here, though. No, like everybody is so jacked about this. Like Adam Thielen was just like, I'm excited. Routes and hot route and excited modern offense. Excited. Excited. Like
Kirk's like, it's not really different.
I need my friend Sean Mannion. Why? So when you throw a pick, you can go to the sidelines. I would have made that throw too, Kirk.
To defend Kirk, though, he has kind of been in this offense before when he was with Washington. So it might not. What he's trying to say is that it might not be different for him, compared to everyone else, because he's been in the system before. But yeah, it's definitely different than what they've been running the last few years. But yeah, I don't know.
Here's the other thing too, because me and you have said this before, like, why doesn't Sean Mannion just turn into a coach, right? Luke Braun had a very good point. Sean Mannion's salary as a potential backup quarterback this year is 1.2 million, roughly. Yeah. The average salary of an NFL assistant is $150,000 to $175,000.
Yeah. So but compared to nothing.
I'd take that. I mean, that's a lot of money, but
and I don't know. I wonder if he has more guaranteed money than he would to be a coach.
Yeah.
But coaching has got to be in his future no matter what.
He
Like he seems like he's the next coming of Kevin O'Connell. Like he's in that exact mold of like not working out and then helping a Kirk Cousins in his future.
like that's the difference between like him and Chase Daniel. Like Chase Daniel's probably going to be a coach too at some point,
Yeah.
but he doesn't embarrass himself when he's on a football
No.
field. Sean Mannion does. Like I
how many
want Sean Mannion off this team as much as you do, but
how many touchdowns did Sean Mannion throw this
one.
preseason?
Oh, this preseason 0.
0 in the preseason, and he's been in the league for 8 years.
Yeah,
and he throws 0 touchdowns in the preseason in 3 games. Yeah, you should not be in the league. You should not be. It wasn't like he was on the field for like 2. He played entire halves. So
you're not wrong.
He shouldn't be. No, but I understand you're doing it. You're predicting that what the Vikings are going to do, which I don't know. Because they seem like I don't know. They seem like they look more like the analytics stuff. And if you look to stuff like PFF, like Sean Mannion is terrible. And even Kellen Mond, he looks kind of okay, but Sean Mannion's been like in the 40s for like his PFF grades, and it's just been terrible. I feel all right. We gotta stop talking about Sean Mannion. I'm gonna start throwing up in my mouth.
Well, how about we talk about running backs? We talked about it a little bit with Alexander Mattison, but I'll leave Ty Chandler alone because he's kind of tied into that conversation. But CJ Ham, we both have him on the roster. Has not played this preseason. A lot of people are like, well, they cut Jake Bargis. Like, what's going on? Why haven't they used fullback personnel? Why do you think CJ Ham makes the roster?
Well, it's really giveaway when he hasn't played the last 2 preseason games, so it's pretty clear that they want him to stay healthy for the season. And I think they're only going to keep like 3 tight ends, 3 or 4, so he can fill in that kind of role as a H-back or whatever. And it seems like, and Kevin O'Connell's been like bragging about him all offseason. So it'd be kind of weird to like brag about him and then cut him. So yeah, the dead giveaway has been like him not playing these last 2 weeks because he'd be on the field if because he's the only fullback, so he'd be on the field if they didn't want him probably. But yeah, CJ Ham, he's gonna be on the team.
I think it's a matter of everybody's going like, well, Sean McVay's offense didn't have a fullback. Why would they want CJ Ham? Well, because Kevin O'Connell is keeping this isn't even an illusion of complexity. This is like throwing the thing like you do not see anything until I tell you can see anything. And I think once the season starts, I don't know. It's not like CJ Ham's going to become this ultimate weapon, but he's a talented dude. Like just to put
he's a good locker room guy too.
Yeah, he's good in the room, right? He's good in the room. He can block, he can run. We've seen him make catches. I think there's some kind of not like he's gonna blow up type of plan, but like there's an interesting plan for CJ Ham. So I think he makes the cut. I think this talk is kind of stupid that people think he won't, but I'm just throwing it out there.
No, I thought at first, but like I said, him sitting out these last 2 weeks is a huge giveaway because he's not hurt. So
yeah. Next kind of interesting debate. Oli Udoh and Jesse Davis. I think you had Davis getting cut. I think I had Udoh getting cut. Choose your fighter. Like, man, these guys are bad.
I feel like Jesse Davis has been on the practice field like half the time this summer just because of whatever he's dealing with injury wise, and then when he's been in the games, he hasn't been good either. And he got beat out by Ed Ingram. They've been shuffling him over to like left guard or whatever. And I just look at someone like Oli Udoh, who he's played guard before, so he has that experience. It wasn't very good, but he's more suited to be a tackle. And I think the Vikings need more tackle depth than they do guard depth because they have someone like Chris Reed, even someone like Austin Slotman, who played very well this preseason. I think he's going to play a big role in whatever they do with who are we talking about? Davis. Yeah, Jesse Davis. And Jesse Davis last year was one of the worst offensive linemen in the league.
Yeah.
So like this signing was questionable from the very beginning, and it was just it was very questionable that the Vikings were trying to make him like he's going to be our starting right guard, and so everyone's like, okay, I guess so. And then Ed Ingram beat him, and everyone's like, "Well, it's because he was hurt." And then Jesse Davis was healthy, and then Ed Ingram was still the guy. And Ed Ingram, he hasn't been perfect. We've seen him in the preseason; he's given up a sack or two. So it's not like he's been amazing. But Jesse Davis just hasn't impressed me, and I think he's on a multi-year deal. But if they get rid of him this year, it's like a dead cap hit of under $2 million. So it wouldn't even be like a huge. They wouldn't be eating a lot of money, and I think they actually come away with like they create $200K in cap space if they release him. So it wouldn't even be that big of a deal.
Yeah, I dialed up Spot Track right now. Oh my.
Yeah.
So it's a 1-year deal, but
Okay.
they added $750,000 worth of dead cap money in 2023. So they put a void year on this guy. Smart.
Yeah. So yeah. And Ali Udo's younger. That always is the trump card. You look at a guy like, okay, he's younger, so he has more upside. Unless you're Kellen Mond, he's got more upside. So that's my argument.
And Ole's probably a tackle, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like they're not doing this guard thing, so he can play tackle. I mean, they're both bad, but I mean, Udo is a tackle to begin with, and we've seen Jesse Davis the tackle, and that's the one that Miami Dolphins fans were like, "Why are you signing him? That's an awful move." But
and the injury thing too, like you need someone you can rely on, and Ali Udo was healthy for like the entire season last year, so he's reliable in that sense, I guess.
So moving over to the defensive side, our defensive linemen, I have here they're wildly different, but not really. We both have Dalvin Tomlinson, Harrison Phillips, Armon Watts. We both had T.Y. McGill, who was placed on injured reserve. So that sucks for him, by the way.
Yeah.
Like that ankle, like third play of the game, he just goes out. Like that. I think that was one of the reasons I wanted to watch the game was see what if T.Y. McGill could get like another couple of sacks and be like that. This dude's a menace, but give him 3 weeks to heal up and maybe you can use him a little bit later. I love the fact they put him on injured reserve instead of someone gets hurt. Him.
Yeah, if someone gets hurt, then they can do an injury settlement or whatever and then try and bring him back because it didn't sound like it was a serious injury, but if you're going to injury reserve, probably more serious than we probably thought.
I got my Lynches mixed up. Blake Lynch is a linebacker. Who's the defensive tackle?
I can't remember off the top of my head. James
Lynch. Okay.
James Baylor. The Ginger Lynch.
Yeah, I was about to say Ginger Baylor guy. Yeah, we both have him on there. I don't know. That's just by default. And a lot of people saying Bullard is in. That's what I'm hearing. But I think the big winner of the McGill injury is Asesi Atomowo, the former Gopher. Yeah. I think he makes the team now, right?
Yeah.
And that could change too with cuts. I mean, they could look somewhere else and be like, "Hey, we like this guy." But
right, yeah. Those last 2 or 3 guys that you named are going to be like bubble guys, depending on what they do at other positions. But yeah, I think other than Bullard, I pretty much agree with that. I don't ever remember hearing Bullard's name watching any of like the preseason games. Not that it's the only thing that matters, but I never was like, "Oh, Jonathan Bullard stood out today," and I'm like, I don't think so. So yeah, but this isn't really a position that I feel like they're too worried about. They have some pretty decent depth with even James Lynch, who was okay during the preseason, and he's been with the team for a little bit, so he knows what to do. Yeah, and Harrison Phillips and the guys that they have as starters are known to be pretty durable. So I don't think they're worried about this position group too much.
Both of us had 4 outside linebackers. I had Blake Lynch make the team, and I'm not so sure about it. I think he's more of a Zimmer guy anyway, so I could see him getting cut. Not going to stand on a hill for him. We both had Chris Boyd make the team. Big Chris Boyd podcast here.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you why I put Boyd on there, because he's played most of the preseason games and he's looked all right. I mean, he knows what he's doing.
Third best PFF defensive grade this
preseason. Yeah.
Which
I mean, he's
crazy.
Decent special teams guy. Great in the room. Again, great in the room.
Yeah, I think the Booth injury is going to help him a lot because they're just still they're not sure with that. So they want to make sure they have enough corners that they can semi-rely on. Because, if Pearson or Dantzler goes down that first game, then, they need an outside guy pretty quickly because Chandon Sullivan's on the inside. And, who do you go with? Caleb Evans or Chris Boyd? So, yeah. Yeah, I think Boyd makes a team. Like, I don't have anything against him. I just thought he wasn't good. And I feel like he's taken advantage of his opportunities this summer. I'm impressed by what he's been able to do. So yeah, I think he makes the team. I think some people have said like, he's expendable or like the preseason, he did okay, but he wasn't that great. But like the numbers show he did pretty good.
Who's gonna tell jokes in the locker room? If they cut him.
Who's gonna post all the Instagram, stories
Do it
inside
for
the
the
locker
gram,
room?
man.
Yeah,
Do it for the gram.
Didn't he have like a B-Rob? Didn't they try to do like some sort of B-Rob like show with him, like his own kind of thing, like hot mic or something with
Oh,
Chris Boyd?
I thought you meant like he was on 96 questions because he
Oh,
was.
he
I
was,
mean,
but
he said to like abolish Oklahoma or something because that it was like you need to get rid of one collegiate program. Who is it? He's like Oklahoma because he went to Texas.
Yeah. No, but he did like I remember he did like some hot mic show or whatever where he held like a boom mic over. He interviewed people with a boom mic, which is like
I think I remember that.
those big mics.
Yeah,
but yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't make it. But I think he's gonna be one of those guys where they're like, we gotta shuffle people around. So because there's a couple. I think T.Y. McGill's really the only surprise, but he was hurt, so they had to get rid of him.
You know what? There's not really many surprises here.
There aren't.
Like this, I mean, we've gone 40 minutes in this episode, and we've really tried. I mean, A for effort, right? We kind of spun off into like Odell Beckham Jr. We kind of spun off into some other weird things. Did you see? Let's talk about this. Let's close it out this way. Did you see Scott Frost perform an onside kick up 11 points?
Oh, I heard about it. I heard how Nebraska hasn't changed at all. Like
having their linemen puke during practice.
Yeah, and everyone's like, "How'd that work out? That really benefited you."
They seem really exhausted and pale. This is weird.
Where was Scott? Wasn't he at UCF before Nebraska?
He was.
Yeah, and he was. I think he was Mike Hughes' coach actually. Mike Hughes on the Lions now, and I keep looking for him every time I watch Hard Knocks, and I'm like, I can't find him. Which is
there's some people who just run away from the camera when that happens.
Yeah,
but
which is probably for the best. Yeah. Not Dan Campbell.
Chris Boyd would run right to it, man. Yeah. Where's that camera? Hey, what's up? Put this on the gram.
Jefferson would be there too. Let's not kid around. He'd be.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Yeah,
but that would be very interesting. I think if the Vikings miss the playoffs this year, they're on the hook. They could be told that they're doing Hard Knocks next year.
I was watching Luke Braun's documentary, and they were doing they were doing the 90s Vikings, and like kind of talking about Hard Knocks and like Vikings and everything. Imagine like the 1990s Viking, like the 98 Vikings on Hard Knocks.
John Randall.
They could do all 6 parts on John Randall just talking. Yeah, Randy Moss.
I think people forget how much of a trash talker Chris Carter was. Like people see him on TV and he's kind of soft spoken now, but he was a big time trash talker. Like one of the best.
He was I'll use the word. He was kind of a diva, but he was an awesome diva.
But he was
like,
good.
That's why he was good. He was a diva. Like all he did is catch touchdowns thing. It's like one of the greatest quotes ever. And I mean, I just had a big goofy grin on my face for an hour and a half watching that thing. Well, okay, not the entire because they went over the 98 NFC championship game, but
yeah, I watched the like the 70s one. I started watching a little bit of it, and I was like, all I could think of was like, whoever did this music for this did a good job because it just like hits it at the right spots, like the 80s like ambient kind of like video game kind of music, and like watching like the old highlights, and I'm like, oh, this is pretty good stuff. So yeah, it's good.
Vikings,
I gotta check out the 90s one for sure.
The Vikings playing a tight game in the 4th quarter of a Super Bowl like blew my mind. Like, whoa! But alas, we're still here. So, anything else you want to close this down with?
I don't think so. Cut down days tomorrow.
Yes,
like we said at 3. So it'll be 1 o'clock for me on the West Coast. And then we got less than 2 weeks until the Vikings play the Packers. Packers fans are already like saying how it's the Vikings fans Super Bowl, and we're gonna get so excited when Zadarius Smith gets a sack when they're up 17 points, and I'm just like bookmarking all these tweets and just like, okay, I can't wait to retweet these when the Vikings kill you. I heard the other day, like, I don't know what podcast it was. Oh, I think it was what's his name, Sharp. Um, he was on the Ringer podcast, and he was saying how like, we're not Sharp. It was the other guy. One of the guys on the Ringer on the Bill Simmons podcast was saying how like the Vikings, he feels like the Vikings could just come out and like make a huge statement in week 1, just blow out the Packers and be like, yeah, this is not Mike Zimmer's Vikings. This is a new Vikings. So, be careful.
Jump up big and just step on their throat.
If that happens, I will lose my mind. And then I will be retweeting all of those bookmark tweets that I've been saving. So
I wouldn't be able to write the recap for Bring Me the News. I would be so excited. Just like, wow. Like,
yeah.
Stock up on the cigarettes.
That'd be great. I don't know. I don't feel bad about anything that happens to Aaron Rodgers from now on. I'm so sick of that dude. I'm so sick of him being like, I don't want the attention, but I'm going to be on every podcast and get all the attention.
There was this teacher once. He said, I'd never make it. But guess what? Here I am.
Dude, you're not Michael
now I'm gonna
Jordan.
play this
you won
song.
One Super Bowl.
I wrote it while I was on Percocet. Yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah.
I might be on Percocet
Speaking
right
of
now. I don't
Josh
know.
Gordon being pissed off, I'm sure he's loving all these stories.
Oh, God.
Aaron Rodgers.
That's the first person I thought of during this whole thing. He's just like, I don't know. Richard Sherman got banned for Adderall. Yeah. There's that too. But Aaron Rodgers, take whatever you want. You want to sip like acid tea or whatever? Go ahead. I'm getting heated. It's probably time to shut this down. Well, thank you for checking out the Viking Age podcast, the official podcast of the VikingAge.com. We do this every Monday and Thursday night at 6:15 p.m. Central Time right here on the Viking Age YouTube channel. If you miss it, we have you covered in podcast form the next day on Apple and Spotify. But however you listen, make sure you're liking, subscribing, giving us a good review because we never want you to miss a new episode. Thank you for joining us. We'll talk to you again on Thursday right here on the Viking Age YouTube channel. Follow us